All right, everyone, today is Thursday. Weekend is just around the corner, and I hope you are as excited for it as I am. The last few weeks, you've heard me talk about fear, overcoming fear, how to do it as an individual, how to do it as a Christian, and how to do it as a professional. And on Thursdays, one thing I like to do is share personal stories. That way, you get to know me a little bit more, and I get to share some things, which is always exciting. So before I became a professional coach through the coaching company I run called Peak Performance and Consulting, and before I was doing what I'm doing right now as the CFO of a nonprofit substance abuse recovery center, I did several other things. I ran a martial arts studio, I was a district manager for retail companies. There's a lot of things that I did, and the advice I've been giving over for how to handle fear, I didn't follow years ago. I didn't have mentors, I didn't have coaches, I didn't have people I could turn to, and I often failed with fear. I failed quite often, to be honest with you. There was several things when I look back on my life I think that I really wish I would have done, and I let fear guide those decisions to not do them. And that right there is one of the main reasons I became a coach, because much later in life I learned how to handle that fear. I got the right people around me, I got mentors, I got coaches, and they taught me how to process that feeling and how to not let it guide my decision making. And I'm really glad I learned those things, which is why I'm doing what I do now, not just with my coaching, but also putting this stuff out there on social media so that maybe hopefully some random person, whether it's here in the United States or the 1%, that I have watching in Nigeria. So thank you. All right. Then here's the big difference. Okay. So you asked Daniel, what's changed? You shared that when you was younger, you let fear guide you. The difference is I can identify the fear now. Before, I would just be like, I'm afraid to do this, I don't know how to process it. The first step is to realize it's fear. Okay, realize, my emotion around this decision is not based on data, it's not based on empirical evidence, it's just purely emotional. Once you can identify that, then you can get down to the data, then you can get down to the evidence to decide what you need to do or what you do not need to do. Being able to identify that your response is emotional and is fear will help you make the better decision. And one thing that I learned too is that if I feel fear about something, there's a pretty good chance I need to do it. Now, don't apply that all the way across all your decision-making abilities, but if I feel fear on something, there's a good chance I need to do it, because for me, I have found more growth working through fear than not working through fear. So if I'm afraid to do something, or I have that emotional, like, I don't know how this is going to go, right? I tend to get more excited that I want to do it because I want to know what the outcome is. And you can be curious, and that's a good thing, but be curious by making decisions based on the data. So you're just identifying the fear, and then you can work through it. So I'll leave you with this thought, because this is something I work with my clients on a bit. Fear can be a very useful tool if you can control it, and if you can identify it and still make the correct decisions on it. People aren't always afraid of the fear of failing, though. Okay, so people think that, well, I'm afraid to start the business because I'm going to fail. I'm afraid to go to church because I don't have nice clothes and people are going to look at me a certain way. They think about all these reasons, and it's based on fear. But there's another reason that people have fear around things. There's fear of being successful. Right? That is a very real thing. And you may say, Daniel, that makes no sense. I wanted to start this company. I know this company is going to do good, and I don't know why I would be afraid of that. Here's why you're afraid of it. Because when you are successful starting that company, there's going to be more responsibilities. You're going to have to work more. You're going to be responsible for employees. You're going to be responsible for revenue. You're going to be responsible for all this stuff that you're not responsible for right now. That's a fear. And that fear sometimes keeps people from doing what they need to do. Well, why am I afraid of being successful or whatever for going to church? Well, because when you go to church, you're going to hear the message that you need to hear that's going to make you feel a certain way about the life that you're living. But these are all good things. Okay, none of us are perfect. There are still things I do in my life I wish I wouldn't do. This is just, you're human. Give yourself some grace. Give yourself some mercy, because God's giving it to you. All right, don't be afraid of success. Don't be afraid of failure. Every failure is a lesson. okay? Put yourself in that position to fail and learn that lesson, because the next time you might not fail and you might be successful. Stop with fear. Don't do what I did when I was younger and let fear guide you on certain decisions. It's never too late. All right, you can do this. I'm excited for you. Have a great day.